On Tech News Today, Yahoo's ancient messaging program is reborn as a modern app. Plus, Google is opening up its visual recognition technology to outside companies. And Minecraft just got a cell phone network, but you got to build your own towers. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, December 3rd, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Gazelle, the online marketplace for buying and selling used gadgets. Shop from a variety of certified pre-owned electronics or trade one in for cash. Give a new life to a used device. Visit Gazelle.com today. And by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost automated investment service. It's the most sophisticated way for you to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/TNT to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/TNT. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. My name is Mike Elgan, and our co-anchor today is Fusion editor Kashmir Hill. Hey, Kashmir, how you doing today?
I am good. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Now, tragic news yesterday. We've all heard about the attack in San Bernardino, California at around 11 a.m. A man and a woman opened fire at the Inland Regional Center there. So far, 14 people are dead and 17 are wounded. The two armed suspects, Syed Farouk and Tashfeen Malik, were both killed by police. Now, there are a bunch of things to talk about here that are not related to technology, but one is kind of a follow-up to a story we did earlier. One of the interesting reports coming out of this, and again, not 100% confirmed. I'm not certain that this is true information, but apparently there are reports that both of the suspects were wearing GoPro cameras on their chests and recording the entire thing, essentially wearing it mounted on their bulletproof gear or whatever. Now, the reason this is a follow-up is that there was another shooting that we told you about in August, late August, by somebody who had the screen name of Bryce Williams. He was a local reporter, and he shot two coworkers while they were doing a news report. And the entire time he was holding his camera and shooting video in a kind of first-person shooter mode with this handgun in front of the video frame. And it seems to be kind of a thing that people are doing now. They're recording their massacres, and it's just to me, I think it's a bizarre new addition to this tragic ongoing problem that occurs.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems like there's so many massacres in recent news, but I didn't see anything about video being captured by, say, the Planned Parenthood shooter or the people who waged attacks in Paris.
Yeah.
But I do expect it will happen more often. And I'm assuming in this case, if the suspects were shot, that police department now has possession of those GoPros.
That would be a good and it raises the question, of course, and this you start pulling the thread out in terms of who controls videos of crimes, regardless of who does it. But the reasons that they, who knows why they recorded video. This is something that occurs a lot with terrorist attacks abroad. I think this is kind of rare in the U.S., but still, it's possible that the video was recorded for the purposes of propaganda of some kind. And that raises the question, what do the police do about it? Do they allow it to be released and therefore allow the propaganda to occur? Or do they keep it secret? Is it possible for them to keep it secret? And it also brings up an issue that you linked to on Twitter the other day, which is, what do you do when police camera video, who controls that video? Who controls when it's recording? Who controls what happens after the recording is made? And I think, to me, that's the main issue with police body cameras. And it's also an issue with this kind of thing. I mean, we're going to have attacks like this. Everything's going to be recorded. We have to figure out, as a society, who's in charge of and how we control the video for police, for whether it's recorded by police or criminals.
Yeah, you get into these really tricky issues around public access to information like this and how people would use, video if they were to obtain it from those GoPro cameras. I thought this editorial from a public defender about police body cameras was really interesting. She was talking about how hard it is for public defenders and others to get access to video, like we just saw happen in Chicago. And her recommendation was that we have third parties that control police body camera video so that they can determine when it gets released, as opposed to police departments, which obviously have a kind of a skin in the game.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me. The other issue that is still unresolved is when the recording is happening and when it isn't happening. Police body cameras, probably should automatically start recording as soon as a gun is withdrawn from the holster. That would be but that would require some technology that I don't believe exists at present. And there are probably other circumstances in which those cameras ought to be recording. Anyway, that's an issue for another show. In the meantime, we'll be looking at ongoing coverage of this tragedy. And of course, the big elephant in the room is motive. It's just a bizarre target. No matter who, no matter what the motives were, these two suspects apparently were very prepared for such an attack, and why they attacked, the San Bernardino Inland Regional Center is a complete mystery to me. But hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that at some point. Well, let's jump into our regular tech news. Yahoo Messenger just got a complete overhaul, and Fast Company technology editor Harry McCracken wrote all about it, of course, for Fast Company. And Harry joins us now. Welcome to the show, Harry.
Hey, Mike. Great to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. Now, how long has Yahoo Messenger been around? This thing is, didn't this thing start out as Yahoo Pager?
Right. It's 17 years old. So it is a child of the era when ICQ and AOL Instant Messenger and other instant messaging apps were hot, long before WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and the other ones, which are more part of the mobile age and started out when smartphones got big.
Harry, who do you think is the target audience for Yahoo's new messaging app? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of competitors out there. I kind of associate Yahoo Mail with being very big outside the U.S. Do you think they're hoping it's big in the U.S. or elsewhere?
Well, like the immediate audience basically is people who are Yahoo users. It's built into Yahoo Mail as well as being a standalone app. So if you're a Yahoo Mail user, you can use it. And the people who you'll be talking to are other people who are still a little bit Yahoo-centric. But the new app, I mean, it does have some cool new features in terms of being able to share high-res photos and do a like you can in Twitter for any comment, and also to erase any comment you've ever done. But a lot of what they did was they ripped out the old plumbing that had, in some cases, been around since the 1990s. And they replaced it with something that's a lot more robust. And they're trying to prep themselves for the next era of messaging. One of the most highly evolved messaging apps is WeChat, which is huge in China. And there, it's like a platform for getting customer service. You can use it to call a cab. It's a center for listening to entertainment. And that's starting to happen with apps that are more widely used here, such as Facebook Messenger. And Yahoo hopes to get in on that. And Jeff Bonfort, who's the Yahoo senior vice president in charge of this, told me that stats show that people are comfortable having up to 4 messaging apps on their phone. And he feels like Yahoo at least has a decent shot of being one of those 4.
We're number 4. That's a good goal. Now, you mentioned that that this version incorporates Cool Iris technology. Can you talk about what that's all about?
Sure. Cool Iris is a startup that was around for quite a while. And the trademark thing they started out with quite a while ago was they let you create this 3D wall of photos, and the photos could whiz by incredibly quickly, and it never got bogged down. So they were really good at optimizing photos and other things and making something that was dependent on the web, but didn't feel like it was slowly dragging data off of the internet. And Yahoo acquired them about a year ago, and the folks who did Cool Iris were responsible for a lot of the architecture of the new Yahoo Messenger. And basically, it's storing a lot of stuff locally on your device and then syncing it up to the web as it can. And that's why if you send a photograph, you immediately see a low-res version, and the higher-res version trickles down. And if you're somewhere with a spotty connection, like on a subway car, and you send a message, and at the moment you send it, connectivity is bad, it will just sync it back up when it gets back online. So it's a fairly sophisticated architecture.
Now, Harry, I was just chatting with Kashmir behind the scenes here, and she was bringing up the issue of encrypted messaging. How secure is this app, do you think?
We didn't talk about that specifically. That's a really good issue. And that's certainly not what they're putting the emphasis on when they're talking about what's new with it.
All right, before I let you go, I want to ask you about, there are a lot of rumors and reports flying around about Yahoo and what may happen to the company, including that they may sell their core internet business, which I think is really confusing to a lot of people. Do you have any thoughts on those reports?
Well, given that it's Yahoo, those rumors resurface a lot. It seems like it's a pretty regular thing for that to happen. The big weird thing about Yahoo is they invested years ago in Alibaba, which is a Chinese internet giant. And that was such a brilliant investment that the vast majority of Yahoo's value is determined by the stock market, is that investment. And it leaves the core business, such as all of the Yahoo sites and Messenger and Yahoo Mail, worth very, very little. And that's an issue they have to deal with. And they thought they were going to deal with that by spinning out their Alibaba stake into a separate company. And that looked like it had a lot of tax advantages. But then the IRS told them that they can't depend on that being a tax-free deal. So I don't expect anything to happen with Yahoo immediately, just because, for many, many years, Yahoo has been a company where there's always been a fair amount of uncertainty. And feels more like the latest round than signs that doomsday is about to happen.
I hear sirens. That may be the fire department going to put out a fire at Yahoo as we speak, so you never know. Harry McCracken is at fastcompany.com, technologizer.com, and you can find him on Twitter at Harry McCracken. Harry, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, folks.
Right, bye-bye. Got more news coming up, but first I want to talk about Gazelle. Of course, Gazelle is the place to sell a used gadget, and I've been talking about this for a long time as an environmentally friendly alternative to having a piece of electronics sitting around, because when you get that into circulation, you're theoretically preventing somebody from buying a new phone, and that prevents theoretically from companies from manufacturing new phone, and that is the most environmentally friendly thing to do. But I also want to talk about Gazelle as a place to buy a used phone or tablet. They got a huge selection of Apple devices, Samsung devices, you name it. It's a great place, and of course, think logically about how you are going to buy your next device and what you're looking for. You're looking for the biggest bang for the buck. You want the best phone or tablet for your budget. We all have a budget. Even Leo has a budget, I think. I'm not sure. He doesn't seem to sometimes. But, you're going to spend $500 on a device. What's the best use of that $500? Go to Gazelle and you will get the best phone you can for that amount of money. And if you're a little bit uneasy about buying a used device, you should know that buying from Gazelle is completely risk-free. The reason is, first, that they have a full inspection process for all their devices, and they're backed by a 30-day return policy. So you buy a phone or a tablet from Gazelle, you can use it for a month. And if after that month you decide that you don't want to keep it, just return it, and they'll refund your money. There's literally no risk. Super easy to buy from Gazelle, super easy to sell to Gazelle. It's just an easy way to make sure that phones stay in circulation, that you get the best device possible, because that's really, we're all gadget freaks. We want the best phone and tablet we can possibly get. Give new life to used electronics. Trade in for cash or buy certified pre-owned. Visit Gazelle.com today, and we thank Gazelle for their support of Tech News Today. Google yesterday unveiled a beta version of something called the Cloud Vision API, which extends Google's ability to recognize objects in pictures to third-party developers. Blair Hanley Frank is Bay Area correspondent for IDG and joins us to talk about it. Hey, Blair, how are you doing today?
Hey, Mike, I'm doing well. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I also appreciate your awesome audio and video. It's a great setup you've got there. Now, how does Google's Cloud Vision technology work exactly?
It basically is a way for developers to leverage technology that Google has been building in-house for years for their own applications. It gives them stuff like the ability to recognize the important content of images, recognize landmarks, figure out whether an image is safe for work or not. All of that, all of these capabilities that Google has been using to power its own products are now going to be available to developers.
Blair, who do you expect is going to be most excited about using this?
You know, it's hard to say right now because Google isn't being super upfront about how much all of this costs, and it's still in a private preview. I think it's probably going to be most useful to startups and independent developers who want to be able to leverage these powerful tools but don't want to spend the money to build them all in-house. This is stuff that Google has been working on for, as long as it's been being Google, basically. And so what this can do is give other companies that are just starting up right now a jump start to do things like optical character recognition. You can feed it a, street sign and it'll know where that street sign is based on the language that's in it.
Unbelievable. Now, what is the safe search detection feature?
That's one of the really interesting features that is probably going to be more useful to people who are looking to build like the next great photo sharing social network, like the next Instagram of the world. What it does is basically it looks at an image, and in much the same way that Google's own image search tries to determine whether or not a piece of content is appropriate, it looks at that image and says, basically, is this porn? And if it is, it'll tell the developer and make sure that that's, people can then use that to not share that that image out to the broader public if that's necessary.
So with this kind of like very intelligent analysis of images, you could, there's sentiment analysis. Maybe you could detect if somebody was fat or thin. What kind of things that they're interested in. You can imagine this being a very powerful tool for advertisers to, analyze photos that somebody has in a social network and what they're interested in and how to target them. Do you know, will there be any kind of control set on like which photos get fed into this in order to be analyzed?
Right now it's hard to say. Google is only making it available to select hand-picked developers who the company invites. They have to fill out a survey describing what sort of scenario they see themselves using the Cloud Vision API for. At this point, it seems like with many other Google products, this is something that's going to get rolled out so that it's generally available and anybody can feed any image into it that they want. It's hard to say right now. Google hasn't said anything about any sort of like ethical considerations. I mean, knowing Google, I doubt that it will be prohibited from being used for advertising purposes, for example, but it's not clear at this point.
This feeds into a trend that, of course, we've noticed in recent months, which is that artificial intelligence is being offered as a service, an extensible service by just about everybody who has developed it in-house. This is artificial intelligence, right? This is another example of Google essentially renting out its AI.
Yeah, it's AI and machine learning, capabilities that are expensive to develop, hard to come up with, and very powerful, being made available to just about anyone. And it's the same for Google, it's the same for Microsoft, it's the same for IBM. You have a lot of companies that have made these investments in AI and machine learning, sort of going and renting out those capabilities to others. In fact, Microsoft's data chief said last week, or the week before, I forget which, but he said that he envisions there's going to be a future for like intelligent API marketplaces where developers of all stripes will be able to sort of bring their speech recognition API or their facial recognition API and say, here, you can take this and build this into your app, and I'm going to compete with all of these other different providers to provide services that developers need to create the next generation of intelligent apps.
It's going to be amazing. To every little startup is going to be able to create their own HAL 9000. Just by using other companies' APIs. Blair Hanley Frank is at idg.net and on Twitter at BELRIL. Did I get that right, Blair?
Yes, you did.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will talk to you later.
Thanks, Mike.
Right, bye-bye. Remember Andy Rubin? He was the co-founder of Android and ran the Android group at Google until March of 2013. After running Google's robot division for a while, Rubin left the company. The Information senior reporter Amir Efrati wrote an exclusive about Rubin's next project. Efrati joins us now. Welcome to the show, Amir.
Thanks for having me.
So glad you're here. Now, what is Andy Rubin up to these days?
Well, he left Google about a year ago, quite suddenly, after putting together a pretty substantial robotics team. He acquired a bunch of robotics companies, was going to do some big stuff, then had some, I guess, disagreements with Larry Page over some structural issues and other things, left the company, and has raised about $300 million that he is using to invest in all kinds of companies, software, hardware. He's got a studio space in Silicon Valley. He's working with Redpoint Ventures as well. And one of the things that he's doing now, which kind of surprised me when I heard about it the other day, is getting together a team to build Android phone. And, there are a lot of questions about this because we don't know all the details. But what we do know is that he sees huge opportunity in Android right now, as do many other companies, whether they're startup companies or existing companies like Micromax in India, who want to create these direct-to-consumer brands, particularly in countries like the United States. You don't have to go through a carrier like you used to. Like, you don't have to go through AT&T and Verizon. You can actually sell direct-to-consumer. It's becoming a bigger segment. So there's this big opportunity to go direct and to build a really good high-end Android brand, which nobody has really been able to own. So Android phone prices have been coming down. It's easier than ever to build a really high quality device, but it's very, very difficult to stand out. And there's still a huge perception problem with Android and getting high-end users, the kind of people who buy iPhones. So I think a lot of people who are Android fans or build Android phones still want to take that mantle, that sort of high-end phone mantle, and start to win share there.
Amir, you've covered the twists and turns of Rubin's career, and it seems like there have been quite a few kind of like abrupt changes along the way. What do you think of why he's going back to this among the many other things that he's been interested in as an investor since leaving Google?
Well, I think there's probably a bigger play here that maybe we really don't know. And I think, as he has conversations about this in the industry, he's kind of purposely staying a little vague for obvious reasons because he's not quite ready. But I think, he is, first and foremost, he likes to build beautiful things, wants to build a beautiful consumer product. That's what he wanted to do at Google. He wanted to build a robot that would be in your home and help take care of you or do things for you, help you solve tasks so that you can save a lot of time and energy and money and so on. So he's ultimately a man who wants to create a beautiful consumer product. And unfortunately, the situation at Google with robotics did not allow for that. So he left. And actually, Google's been struggling mightily to fill that position since his departure. And I think now he has an opportunity to kind of influence and take stakes in a lot of different companies and help push them in the right direction to create products for consumers, which he's already doing. And one of the companies is it's maybe not the most ambitious thing in the world, but I think probably involves a lot of interesting technology, monitors your home pool and kind of automatically cleans it and takes care of it when it gets dirty or has issues. So I think he's trying to work on companies that are working on foundational technologies. And with the Android phone, I think it's a sort of thing where he wants integrations between the phone and other devices, whether it's this pool monitoring thing or something else, in ways that we haven't really seen already. I don't really know what that means, but I think he thinks that there can be that the phone is still a very important unifying piece of hardware that will connect to all sorts of other devices. And I think he has some ideas about how to pull things together.
It's bizarre to me that he left when he was in charge of all the robots. That seemed like the coolest job in the history of mankind. All this Google money being spent on these crazy robots, Terminator robots, the big dog robot. Those were all under his control and so on, and he walked away from that. It's hard to imagine. To me, the biggest gaping hole in the world of smartphones or the nexus between smartphones and home appliances is the fact that the Amazon Echo is all alone in its category, that there is no Google version, there's no Apple version, there's no universal open version. There's just the Amazon Echo, and after Black Friday, they sold a ton of them, and I think this is the future of interactive, virtual assistants, and Apple and Google are nowhere. So I'd love to see him do that. There have been some attempts in Japan and elsewhere to bring smartphone functions and features into home appliances that tend toward robots. In one case, there's a small, almost a cell phone-sized robot. In the other case, there's the Pepper robot, which, you interact with it like it's Google Now or something, but it also reads emotions and things like that. Do you think there's a possibility that this venture isn't just another like 1+1 type of Android handset company, but will in fact be a home automation, robotics facing play, or do you think he's just going to come out with a handset business?
Yeah, no, there's going to be an ecosystem play here. The question is, what's the ecosystem? And what are the kinds of integrations that he can do with other devices? So that remains to be seen. But yes, he's not just going to be OnePlus. He's not just going to be Micromax U. That's not a good business in and of itself. There has to be some other value proposition here. On your point about Amazon Echo, I don't know that that's really Andy's domain. That's sort of the idea of you don't even need a user interface. You just speak to something and get information back. I'm not saying he's not into that. But I think that there are other companies like Apple and Google that have and Microsoft that have kind of found, more core technologies that are kind of in that vein. Andy at heart is really, he's really a hardware geek. And you mentioned robotics. He is absolutely obsessed with robots. And so I think the ambition here is a little bit different. It's less about kind of getting just information back. It's about kind of accomplishing very specific physical real world tasks.
Awesome. Well, Amir Efrati breaks news at theinformation.com, and you can find him on Twitter at Amir. That's A-M-I-R. Amir Efrati, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. Well, just to follow up on my prediction that dead singer holograms would eventually become a staple of Las Vegas, the company Hologram USA announced yesterday that a hologram of Rat Packer Dean Martin will debut in Vegas next year. In addition to Dean Martin's drunken virtual crooning, the show will also feature holograms of comedy routines by Martin and Jerry Lewis. Kashmir Hill, I'm telling you, this is going to be like a Vegas thing almost exclusively. After, of course, once Tupac stunned the very high audience at Coachella a couple of years, 3 years, when was that, 2 years ago? It will become a banality, and it will be used to bring back dead celebrities from the past.
I think we should come up with a name for it. I was thinking maybe Holostalgia.
Oh, nice. I like it. It's a thing. We need a hashtag. Come on, people. Support us on this. It's brilliant. I like it. All right, well, in product update news, the Wall Street Journal is reporting in an exclusive that YouTube is getting ready to turn YouTube Red into a competitor to Netflix. The company is negotiating streaming rights to TV series and movies. And Kashmir Hill, I'm guessing that this is really what YouTube Red has always been about. They want to become the place where you go to get, to sort of watch, whatever TV series you want to watch. And I think it's a great idea.
It is, and it made me think, when YouTube Red first came on the scene, a lot of people wondered about the name, which sounded a little bit risque. Yeah. But now I wonder if they had Netflix in their site, and Netflix we associate it with like the big red screen. And so maybe YouTube Red was kind of trying to tap into that feeling of streaming and live entertainment that we now associate with that color.
Yeah, one of the things I like about it, theoretically, or at least potentially, is that I think they're trying to solve a fundamental problem that we all have as consumers of downloadable content, which is that, there are different TV series all over the place. There are different music services. Should I go to Pandora? Should I go to Apple Music? What should I do? And they're cobbling together a, so far, pretty low-cost service that gives you just about everything. I mean, they're not going to be able to negotiate all the rights. I don't think Amazon's going to sell their original programming to enable people on YouTube to watch those shows, I'm guessing. But I think they're trying to be the best all-in-one inclusive package for all the content, plus all the YouTube original content, plus all the stuff that people just generally post on YouTube. It's probably going to be a pretty good deal. And it's currently $9.99. You can expect that it'll either stay at that price, or maybe they'll have a premium version or something. But in any event, that is a real problem. There are way too many services, way too many places, way too many subscriptions that's required if you really want to get a well-rounded collection of downloadable content. So.
Yeah, it's a smart but late play. I wonder if they can attract people away from the many other sites that they already could have subscribed to.
Yeah, and Hollywood doesn't want to really play ball because they see themselves losing control of this whole thing. I think it's inevitable, but they're trying to hold off and retain control so they can, not just become a commodity. Making movies and TV shows doesn't become a commoditized activity. Well, we got some more news coming right up, but first I want to talk about Wealthfront. Money is good, and you want to grow your money. And investing is a long-term activity. And in order to grow your money, you want to make sure you don't give away too much money. Who are you going to give away money to? Well, for starters, advisors, financial advisors. They will, they will charge you lots of money for the services they provide, between 1% and 3% of what you got under management. That's 3%. That's a lot of money they're charging. Plus, they always have these hidden fees for transactions and changes and stuff like that. Wealthfront charges you 0.25% a year, 0 commissions, and no hidden fees. It's fantastic. You hang on to more of your money. Plus, they take a long-term investment approach, which is the only way to really grow your money and the wise way to invest, as always. They have over $2.6 billion in client assets, and the reason for that is they are awesome. Visit wealthfront.com/TNT to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. You see the customized allocation they recommend for your profile. And just for Twit listeners and viewers, if you sign up to invest, Wealthfront will manage your first $15,000 entirely free of charge for life. For life. Join the many Twit fans who have seen huge success with Wealthfront and claim your offer today at wealthfront.com. And don't forget the /TNT part at the very end. In news you can lose, the world of Minecraft just got cell phones. You got to build the phone, though, and you've got to build the phone tower as well. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. The feature is enabled by Verizon as part of a brilliant marketing stunt. Let's check out a video on the project from a highly reputable source, YouTube vlogger Captain Sparkles.
So I was invited to participate in a project that Verizon has been working on, trying to create a cell network in Minecraft that can connect out into the real world. It sounds totally out there and pretty hard to envision without seeing it, so let me show it to you. First things first, we have to craft a cell phone. The way we do that is by surrounding a white stained glass pane in some iron, and there we go. We've got a cell phone. Browse the web and make video calls. So the way we get this thing going is we'll fly up into the air and we'll simply drop it.
We're in Minecraft. Oh, that's a huge cell phone.
Notice we can't do anything
Looks like
with
the
that yet
monolith from
because
2001: A
if you hit
Space
the button
Odyssey.
Here, we've got to connect to the network.
So he's got his
first.
magic
So
wand,
in
and
order
he's
to do
just
that,
created
we'll
a
need
cell
to
phone. Now it
actually
goes down,
make a
back
tower,
down to the ground.
like these ones around here.
And
So
he's
the
gonna
way
build
you
a
do
cell
that is
tower.
Sort of like crafting boots, but then you'll put a redstone dust at the top, and you've got a cell
whatever.
tower sapling. So we need
How
to
would I know?
plant
Never
this.
played Minecraft.
So when is he going to
grab
make
some
the
engineers to
contact with
construct it,
outside
and it should
Minecraft?
be up and running. So let's actually
Exactly.
run into this thing and
Exactly.
boom. We should get
And there,
some
this
engineers here
tower's
who are
being
going
constructed
to
by lots of
build the structure, and then hopefully,
tiny
assuming
workers.
everything goes according to plan.
And
we'll get
those
some
towers look
service
really
here on our cell
large,
phone, and then we'll actually
much
be able
larger
to put
than
its
actual
functions
towers.
to
Anyway,
use.
so he constructs
yeah,
it.
the
You can
engineers
click ahead a
today
little bit so we can get to
go
the point where
super
he's
duper
actually
quickly.
doing video calls on this
Trying
phone.
to build the
So you
thing
build
is
this thing.
awesome, actually.
And what's great
It's a
about this
whole
is that
multi-level
you
structure.
do all the things you would do on a smartphone. You can do video calls, you can do audio calls or whatever. But when you do video calls, it's all super pixelated because, of course, this is Minecraft. And pixelization is what it's all about.
Converted into Minecraft.
And you can
blocks,
actually
so
make real
it's super
calls, call
cool.
real
Again,
people.
it's actually it is a function. All right.
But this is this reminds me of what we were talking about yesterday. I was talking with Jason about after the show, which is that all these virtual worlds will get the things that we have in the real world that function in the real world. For example, we were talking about the Samsung virtual reality browser, where you sit there and browse the internet inside virtual reality. This is a case where you can do video calls from inside of Minecraft. And who knows? Sky's the limit. You could get a pixelated version of YouTube in there. You could get all kinds of stuff in Minecraft. Why you would want to do that, I have no idea.
Because games aren't fun until they're just like the real world.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually find the idea of Minecraft, very appealing. I think it looks like a really fun thing to do. It's just like, who has the time for this stuff? So, man.
I love the idea of understanding the infrastructure of how cell service works, as opposed to just feeling, if you're a little kid, like it's magic, and you just have this way of communicating with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Anders Hedman, who posted this picture on Instagram. He's getting settled in his new apartment. Of course, when you get a new apartment, the first thing you want to do is set those boxes aside and watch Tech News Today. That's the way to do it. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT so we can find it. And I also want to encourage everybody to do holiday-themed How I Watch TNT photos and videos. We'd love to see those. I've already started getting a few, but I'd like to see a lot more. So go ahead and take those and post them wherever you want to post them. And we'd love to see those. Love to see those. Kashmir.
So I have to say, Mike, I
Yes.
gotta tell people not to include keys of their new apartment in their photo. I may be overly paranoid given the security and privacy stuff that I report on, but if you include keys, then a very skilled hacker could scan the image, make 3D keys, and then everybody could have keys to your apartment, as happened to the TSA when they published that photo of all of their keys for breaking into all the locks, and then hackers 3D printed a pair.
The number of things that people can do to make themselves vulnerable to hacking the list is so long. You know, I know you've been writing about and talking about and linking to the VTech hack. And I've been writing about it, and I have some tips for people that are going to end up my column on Monday that I guarantee you've never heard these tips before, and they're actually really good tips. But one of the things that I did in this column, I actually freaked myself out, because what I did was I said, okay, this hack has occurred, and there's a best case scenario and there's a worst case scenario. And because of the nature of the stuff that has been that was leakable. I mean, so far we know that it's in the hands of at least one hacker who is presenting himself as an ethical hacker and says that he's not going to leak this information. But he also believes that it was so easy to do that others may have done it. But the worst case scenario for this hack is that all this data is sold to some dark web sort of sexual predator site. And these pedophiles can go through shopping for children using the photos that were hacked. They can use the interactive chats between child and parent to socially engineer those children, and then they can use the home address to go find them. That's the worst case scenario. It's a chilling scenario. It's a horrible scenario. But I think it's occurred to me after this hack that we've entered into a new world where children's toys, children's products can be very, very threatening to children. I think this is kind of a worst case scenario, this particular VTech hack.
Yeah, Tom Fox-Brewster, who's a security reporter at Forbes, whose stuff I really like, ran a column for basically parents going into Christmas with advice from a security researcher about like what you should and shouldn't do. And he said, like, don't buy your kids internet-connected toys, period. And get them an iPhone. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, those are like the new exciting toys. Your kids want them. But a lot of times they're not being built with really great security in mind, which is unfortunate. And
that advice will not be followed, by the way, because children's toys are almost always children's versions that enable kids to sort of mimic adult behavior. Easy bake ovens, whatever it is, they're basically taking the children's version of seeing what adults do and doing it as a form of play. And all adults do these days is they sit there on their phones and they're on their computers and stuff like that, and kids are going to want to imitate that behavior. And so companies are going to want to step up and provide children's versions of those things, and it's very problematic. And one of the things, ironically, I think that we've learned from this hack is that parental controls, which parents may feel is a reason to get the product, are actually a risk. They're essentially a doorway into that data. And the way the VTech parental system worked, and the way the Hello Barbie thing, which has an artificial intelligence interactive process where the child's voice is recorded, uploaded to a server, processed by AI, and then the Barbie's response is sent back down. Parents can go in there and can see what the kids are saying, and can essentially spy on their kids, and can tailor what's happening. But that's a doorway. It's a brute force password hack away from a hacker gaining access to that. So there are lots of gotchas that parents are absolutely not prepared to deal with, because it's just such kind of a new world, and it's kind of counterintuitive. Like you say, you don't want a picture of your house keys in a photo that you upload. Who knew? For me, I think one of the biggest creepy things about the VTech hack is the fact that addresses are associated with specific children. That's problematic. Why are there addresses there? Because you have a billing address when you use a credit card. What's the fix there? I think the fix is that people ought to have PO boxes for their credit card information. You don't, because you have to, we all enter our billing addresses when we buy stuff online. So anyway, there's a lot to worry about there.
One thing I'm really curious about is just how parents whose kids are part of this VTech hack talk to their kids about what it means to be hacked and what it means to have this exposed. So I don't know if there are any Tech News Today watchers out there who have kids who were using VTech's software or hardware and they're part of this hack and you talk to your kids about it. I'd love to hear how those conversations went and whether you talk to your kids about it at all.
And if you want to tell Kashmir about that, it's Cashhill with a K on Twitter and let her know how you're doing that and what you think about all that. And Kashmir, I actually, one of my pieces of advice is that if your kids are old enough, you should teach them how to hack. I don't think there's any better education for understanding how hacking works and what the risks are than actually teaching kids what hacking is all about. Ethical hacking, of course, and there should be, that would be a great toy, I think, an application or a little laptop or something that enables kids to have to figure out how to break into a system and root around and give themselves admin privileges, et cetera. I think that'd be a very, very fun for kids and a great challenge and very educational.
Though only if it's legal hacking. Probably don't want to teach kids how to violate the CFAA.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think that if kids successfully hack difficult school networks and give themselves a grade, I think they've earned that grade. But that's just me. I'm probably in the minority there. Kashmir Hill, thank you for co-anchoring today, and we'll see you next week.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye. Well, you can subscribe to Tech News Today on Feedly, or you can choose another way to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT. You can watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1700 UTC at twit.tv/live. You can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV. And don't miss our other news show, Tech News Tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific every single weekday. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Tech News Today. This show was produced by Jason Cleanthus and edited by Kevin King. My name is Mike Elgan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. It's amazing.